toggle between mute and unmute. All right. Mr. Conley, any announcements? No, okay. So first on the agenda, we will go opportunity to listen to residents' feedback and concerns.
Oh my gosh, they just started early.
Portion of the
I
meeting
apologize.
is not meant to
Here
be
we
a
go.
question and answer format. There will be no response to any public comment when presented. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 15 minutes total and up to 3 minutes per speaker. I would encourage those that do wish to speak to be mindful of others and that wish to do the same, so that we can make the most of the time allotted and hear from as many people as possible. Anyone who does not wish to speak or who is unable to speak due to the time limit may submit their comments in writing for the board's review and consideration. And we will have the next open office hours on Tuesday, I believe it's July 30th, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the meeting room on a Tuesday. So with that being said, I have a few people who have raised their hands. So first I will go to Ms. Lombardi.
Okay, am I okay?
You are all set, Ms. Lombardi.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'd just like to say, since the murder of John O'Keefe, this town has been deeply divided. Instead of seeing improvement, we continue the downward spiral of destruction. At last week's select board meeting, the division was amplified when a group of entitled townies who refer to themselves as Canton First decided to rally others to attend the meeting for the sole purpose of heckling and bullying peaceful and passionate citizens, seeking truth and accountability from our leaders. Much to their satisfaction, they were successful in their efforts to wreak havoc and did so without consequences, a familiar theme in Canton. They successfully kept the focus on Jen O'Donnell while continuing to heckle her without any de-escalation efforts from the retired police detective hired to stand guard in the meeting. While she was asking him if he was going to do his job and uphold the same meeting room standards to the hecklers, he ignored the bullies, assaulted her, and made her leave the meeting. I did hear that after the meeting, he spoke gently to some of the bullies. It was a double standard. It is important to note that last week, the same group of entitled townies, Canton First, also circulated a toxic letter collecting endorsement signatures declaring their independence from my publicly expressed views and opinions. While they failed the publication in the Canton Citizen, their letter and ad hoc signatures ended up all over Twitter and social media for the world to see. While the letter was toxic, by signing it, the individuals inadvertently provided valuable information for the world to see. Nearly all of the valid voter names are employees or family and friends of employees of the town of Canton. The behavior of these Canton First town employees speaks volumes about the serious lack of leadership and culture that exists in this town. There are two groups of citizens in this town: the emboldened and entitled townies who fear no consequences for their behavior. They can be as lawless as they want, no problem. The leaders of this town, their friends and family, will always look the other way. The other group is the rest of the community, also known as random citizens. We don't have the same protections and rules as the entitled townies. If something happens, we pray for a miracle because we know we can not count on the town to provide services equitably. We witness this time and time again with two sets of standards, and it's just not fair. And then a few meetings ago, we shared that the 15-minute, 3-minute timer and the fact that we don't feel the select board is listening has an enormous impact on anxiety levels in the room. You reluctantly agreed to increase it to 20 minutes and not use the timer. We felt progress had been made until we learned the following meeting, it went back to the 15 minutes and the timer, which increases anxiety. Leaders who have failed to fulfill their oaths of office will be held accountable. The facts and the science tell the truth. There will be a higher authority that they will need to answer to. But for the select board, I ask you, please, let's work together to restore trust and safety in this community. I would like to propose that we begin a partnership where—
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi.
Okay, can I just finish that last sentence?
Your last sentence, 10 seconds.
Okay, I would like us to work together. I would like us to partner with the select board, come together and talk and listen and exchange ideas from the way forward for us. That is my plea.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Next, Ms. Mead. Give it a second just for you to be unmuted.
Good.
There you are.
Okay. Thank you. Peg Mead, 9 Cynthia Road. I'm also a library trustee. And I'm just going to ask, I'd like to give an update on what's going on at the library. We've had a lot of questions about the scaffolding outside. Would that be appropriate?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make it quick. The library is embarked on a big project called the Next Chapter. And Chapter 1 is replacing the roof and the HVAC system. And that is why we have the scaffolding all around the library. There's also damage to some of the historic cornices on the library that are being fixed as well. And the project is due to be complete by the December holidays. The library is open. We do have reduced hours on Saturday through the summer from 10 to 2, and we are not open on Sundays, which we have never been. We're especially happy. Our HVAC system completely died during the first bout of 90-degree weather a month ago, and we were able to get a very large temporary air conditioning unit, which is in the staff parking lot, if anybody is looking there, because the library is a cooling center for the town. So the project is under the Building Renovation Committee, and we're very grateful to all of them. And also want to say thanks to Brian Lynch, the support of the select board, especially J.R. McCord. Thank you so much, J.R. Our library director, Andrea Capone, and the staff of the library for what we're going through here. And if anybody has any questions, they can go to the library website, and there is a button on the main page that says the Next Chapter. And if you click on that, there's all sorts of information about what we're doing at the library. Thank you.
Thank you, Peg. Next, Mr. Young. Give it just a second. There you are, sir.
Hi, thank you. I think I'm unmuted. I'd just like to know why we're not getting very much time to respond to questions, etc. I've lived here for a very long time, and I think it's very, very important that everyone is entitled to an opinion. You stated at the start of this that you're not responding, etc. And I'd like to know why. And I think that's probably on behalf of almost everyone that's listening.
So thank you, Mr. Young. The public comment is just that. It's a public comment for the public to express their opinions. It is not a back and forth.
Okay, so I'll pass to the next person. It's disappointing. I thought this was I thought we were kilometres or something, but obviously not. But thank you for responding.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McIntyre.
Well, Scott McIntyre from Top Mark Media. Just asking if we can get the viewers on screen so we can see them speak.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes, Scott McIntyre from Top Mark Media. Just asking if we can get the viewers on screen so we can see them speak.
The other viewers on screen?
Yeah, we're just seeing you instead of the people that want to.
So that's how it's set up, and then anybody else that is speaking on the select board will also show up. But not during public comment. All right. There are a couple of people that have their hands up. Please enter your name correctly, or you will not be called on. So, Mr. Allen, give it a second, sir.
Hear me now?
Yes, sir.
I just want to let you guys all know that we're watching from Western Massachusetts, a bunch of us, and we are not impressed. Not with your town leadership, not with the handling of the Karen Reed case. It's an absolute embarrassment on behalf of the rest of the state. Just want to let you know that the other half of the state is in tune. We see what's happening. We're not impressed. We actually think it's an absolute joke. Even our local media has picked it up. We even have our own little standouts, and we see how you guys handle your meetings very differently than anywhere else I've ever seen or been. And you guys honestly should like maybe retool it because you're absolutely an embarrassment on behalf of the state of Massachusetts. That's about all.
Thank you. Next is Barbie Callahan. Give it 1 second.
This sucks. This is horrible.
Ms. Callahan, you don't need to unmute. We can control that on this end.
You can tell he's in his home with the way his curtains are. It looks like he's in a kitchen table. Thank you for joining. I am so sorry this kind of went quick. I tried to go on, and for some reason,
right,
StreamYard
well,
was not connecting.
Ms. Callahan,
just jump in again.
unfortunately, we weren't able to connect, and that does conclude the public comment period. As I mentioned before, if anybody has additional comments, please feel free to attend the open office hours or send the select board an email.
Yeah,
That
right.
being said, next on the agenda, Mr. Albert.
All right, first up for tonight's agenda, at the recommendation of the town administrator and human resource director, I move that the board approve the assistant town administrator job description and the appointment of the assistant town administrator, Jennifer Chameleon.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Only those who were
Hearing
speaking
none, all
pop up.
those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we need to do a roll call vote. So Mr. McCourt,
Aye.
Ms. Boyden,
Aye. Yes.
Mr. Conley,
Yes.
and Mr. Albert.
Yes.
And the chair as well. It passes unanimously 5-0.
Okay, next on the agenda, these personal service contracts that are for 3 years. I move that the board approve the personal service contract for the deputy chief.
Do I have a second?
Fire chief.
Do I have a second for the deputy fire chief?
Second.
Motion has been. Hearing none.
Aye.
5-0. Mr. McCourt,
Aye.
Ms. Boyden,
Yes.
Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
and the chair as well, 5-0. Mr. Albert.
Next is I move that the board approve the personal service contract for the library director.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Ms. Boyden?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
And the chair as well, 5-0.
All right, next on the agenda is the Walpole Terrace notice of violation.
All right, do we have anybody here from F&F Power Equipment? If so, please raise your hand. Just going through the list here just to see.
This is horrible.
All
Hey,
right,
Miss
so I
Peggy.
don't see the owner of F&F Power Equipment here. As the board knows, we talked about this in executive session. F&F Power Equipment is storing product on a public way, which is a violation of our town bylaws. Specifically, it is a violation of Article 14, Section 2 of the general bylaws, which prohibits obstruction of public ways and sidewalks at 40 Walpole Terrace. So I would be looking for a motion to issue a notice of violation to Farrington Power Equipment Incorporated, doing business as F&F Power Equipment for violation of Article 14, Section 2 of the general bylaws, which prohibits obstruction of public ways and sidewalks at 40 Walpole Terrace, and to authorize town council to take action to enforce that bylaw as necessary. So, I have a motion.
moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. 5-0. Mr. McCourt. Mr. McCourt?
You're
We'll come back
frozen,
to you. You're frozen.
dude.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Ms. Boyden?
Yes.
And Mr. Conley?
Yes.
All right,
Yep.
so,
They're not going to do it because
Laurie,
they
if
don't
we
want to
can
face
vote
the
that
people.
4-0, 1 and have Mr. McCourt abstaining while he's having technical difficulties.
Oh.
So 4-0-1.
All right. Next on the agenda, at the recommendation of the Human Resource Director and the Superintendent of Public Works, I move that the board approve the appointment of Water Sewer Coordinator Susan Langen. Sorry about that.
That's right. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Ms. Boyden?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
And the chair as well, 5-0.
Okay, next on the agenda, this is a reappointment. I move that the board approve the reappointment to the Cultural Council, Lean Fan.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Ms. Boyden?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
And the chair as well, 5-0.
Okay, next is, this is an application that received due to the vacancy on this committee with a couple other committees.
Welcome,
But I
Hutcho.
move that the board
Welcome.
approve the appointment to the Cable Advisory
Shirley.
Board,
Is that
Peter
how you say
Hennessy.
it? Welcome.
Motion has been made and seconded. As Mr. Albert said there was a vacancy on this committee. We did put it out. We made an announcement. Mr. Hennessy was the only one that applied, but he worked in the TV industry before, so I'm sure he'll do fine. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Ms. Boyden,
Abstain.
Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
and the chair as well. It passes 4-0-1.
Okay, next on the agenda is the same thing. This is another vacancy on a committee. I move that the board approve the appointment to the Veterans Council, Peter Hennessy.
All right, so same deal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Ms. Boyden,
Abstain.
Mr. Conley,
Yes.
and Mr.
They're
Albert.
Yes.
abstaining
And the
a
chair as
lot.
well. It passes 4-0-1.
All right, next on the agenda, I move that the board approve the FY24 Safe and Senior Grant for the Fire Department in the amount of $8,081.72.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Ms. Boyden,
Yes.
Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
and the chair as well, 5-0. Congrats to the fire department.
All right. Next on the agenda, I move that the board accept and authorize the use of the gift in accordance with the terms thereof under Mass General Law 44, subsection 53A, $3,000 from HESCO as a stipend for Shine expenses, serving health insurance needs for the Department of Elder and Human Services.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Ms. Boyden,
Yes.
Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
and the chair as well, 5-0.
Okay, next on the agenda, I move that the board approve the request to hold the Canton Fall Classic Road Race, October 27th, 2024, in front of, I'm going to botch this, but B'nai Tekva Temple, 1301 Washington Street, and application for a one-day entertainment permit for a DJ contingent upon police and fire approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Mr. Duty, do they pay a permit fee for that? Typically, do you know, are you aware?
Yes,
Okay. They never ask us to waive it?
Charles Duty.
they haven't, but certainly it would be something we would consider.
Okay. What is the fee? I'm sorry. Is it the like $40, $50 fee?
I think it's $50.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Ms. Boyden,
Yes.
Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
and the chair as well, 5-0.
All right, next on the agenda, I don't know if JR wants to handle this one.
Yeah, JR, do you want to talk on what this request is, if you don't mind?
Yes, this is the for the Paul Revere bathrooms on the town of Canton Park down at the Paul Revere Heritage Site. Basically, when all the costs came in for the construction of the unit, installation, and everything, we basically were underfunded and still are underfunded about $31,597.62. And Mr. Chair, I didn't give you a printout of this, but it will be available to you. Basically breaking down the cost. When I came before the board on December 27th, I had asked for $90,000 to get this project finished. At that time, I didn't have the full spreadsheet with me of money that was already expended on the site. By the DPW in their kindness had done a lot of work on the site to bring utilities to the site. And those, the materials for that were on a different spreadsheet. I didn't have them. However, I had met with Randy Scollins and we went through this whole project completely. And the additional cost that the overruns are not, they're normal costs. They're normal costs in a project of this size. And had this gone through the BRC and its normal procedures, this would have been covered all under a contingency. So with that said, on the spreadsheet, the actual bathroom prefab cost was $163,105. That was the contract cost that was negotiated by the town and CXT. The installation, the initial bid, the process came out, that was $99,650. The town-related work had totaled $25,332, meaning basically the subtotal of that is $288. The additional cost that occurred also was an architect stamped drawing, and that was based on the building department requiring a frost wall and footing for this building to be built on instead of just stone. That was $850. There's another cost which I have to look into, which is a $900 building permit. Usually on these projects, that's waived. So I would like to look into this a little bit more to see if that was paid or what the status is for that. There's $2,300 in soil testing. That's when the excavation happened and when they were building up the interior of the foundation. There was a $2,413 water tap that was tapping into the main. There was ledge removal, and another code issue was a roof over the outside water fountain. Those were pretty small costs. The larger cost was plumbing relocation and additional asphalt and sidewalk renovations. That was due to the water main being in a place that was basically 4 to 5 feet where it was drawn in the plan where the foundation was to be put. So the whole building shifted, causing some issues with the sidewalks and all the plumbing and related parts of this project, which once again is not uncommon when we're doing excavation. You find it, particular items like ledge, and when you have to move things, pipes have to be moved with it. So with that said, the grand total cost of this project was $331,597.62. With that said, we have a $31,597.62 shortfall. However, good news came into my meetings is that when I requested $20,000 for the JFK project completion with the change order, there was a difference between the change order that I believed was there in what the town accountant had thought was there. And we saved $15,619.81 that we didn't have to use of that mitigation account. So with that, we need about $16,000 to put this project to bed and call it a day. If I calculated the cost of $331,000 and I put a 15% contingency, the BRC normally would do, that would be about $49,000. This overage is well within the 15% contingency that would have been. So I'm recommending that this board appropriate the $16,000 for mitigation and to take the remaining from the JFK mitigation and put this to this account so that this project can be put to rest. The town can own it completely. It's paid in full, and that we move on.
Thank you.
I will take any questions you have on that.
Well, here they come.
Here they come.
Why wasn't the BRC involved in this project?
This project was initially a project by the Paul Revere Heritage Site, or that group, and they had approached the CPA for funding on this project, and they had requested $210,000 at the time. At the time, they had a price of the unit at $162,000. They also thought that with the 210, they had enough to put this together with town help and outside costs. However, with the environment of construction and working on the BRC for the times I have, the numbers just didn't work out in their favor. So they had come to us in December asking for mitigation funds of $70,000 to meet the shortfall. I had requested $90,000 based on the numbers that I was receiving from different towns that had done this in related costs to this. And the shortfall still was a little less because of the relocation of the building. So with that said, I think we should put this to rest and move on. We've had a similar thing with the JFK. I would respectfully respect this board that in the future, that all projects go through the BRC, that they are funded prior to started completely with contingencies and cost estimates involved. So that's where I'm at.
So it's a town controlled building, or is it still controlled by the trust until it's complete?
Right now, I cannot give you that answer. I believe the trust has control of those bathrooms, but I think that a meeting with them and the facilities director in town of Canton, maybe the recreation, that we could have a discussion as to the usage, the control, and the operation of that unit.
So just to play devil's advocate, and this will be my last question, And obviously, the JFK, very sympathetic because I know exactly how these projects go and that this is what the board needs to do to get these things over the finish line. Is there a sense of urgency? So I wouldn't mind having a meeting with the trust and kind of deciding like who does in fact own this building and control it. I know you mentioned that you didn't send a spreadsheet. I wouldn't mind seeing those numbers before, necessarily voting on it. So is there urgency if we push this to the next meeting?
I don't think that would be that big of a problem. I just know that the contractor that had installed this
in Boston.
Yeah. I think it was going to be a good statement too.
Yes, Burton.
All right. So while we're waiting for JR to join us again, does the board have any comments or concerns or questions?
I would agree, Mr. Chairman, I would agree with you that we got to find out who owns the building. Because the BRC, they told the BRC, the Paul Revere people told Mr. McCourt and Mr. McCarthy that they'll handle it. And that bothers me. Is it the town building? If it is, then there was a wedding there, a couple at the end of June, and the bathrooms weren't available. To me, that's unacceptable. That was a town person rented that place, and they said, okay, we'll give you two. And one, they didn't figure out how to open the door. So they had 200 people, and they couldn't use the bathrooms which were designed. So that absolutely concerns me. And they stood up at town meeting, the Paul Revere people, and said, if we get the diff, which we supported and I supported, then we'll never come back asking for anything else. But if it's a town building, and I want to get some assurances that Mr. Lynch, our director of facilities, has a key 24/7 to sewer and water department in case there's an emergency. That's the only way I'm willing to do that, and something has to be in writing, because it just bothers me. It really does.
Okay. So before Mr. McCourt had technical difficulties, it seemed like he was okay with pushing this to the next meeting. I would like to see the spreadsheet of the numbers that he was talking about. And then here he is. Just unmute yourself, Mr. McCourt.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, if we're waiting for Mr. McCourt, I just want to commend him and Bob McCarthy for jumping in with both feet and doing it. Absolutely. And same thing
Paul McCarthy?
Mr. McCourt did, and Mr. McCarthy did it down at the Kennedy Field.
Yeah.
The Crawford Field right behind the Kennedy School.
Yeah. So obviously I'm sympathetic to this project because it is very similar to the JFK. I approached this board and said I can get the BRC to do this without the contingency, but any project overrun, I'm going to need to come back. And it was less than the 10% that the contingency would have been. But these projects these days are just so outrageously expensive. So I'm not surprised that we need a little bit more to finish this up. But I just want a little bit more data before we commit to spending this, even though I'm in favor of, supporting this. But I just want to get clarification on who in fact does control that.
I agree.
Okay. So, Mr. McCourt, unfortunately during the technical difficulties, we kind of agreed that we would push this until the next meeting. I certainly support this, as you know, with the JFK bathroom project. It's very, very similar, but there are just a couple of questions and some data I wouldn't mind looking at before we commit to this, but I do support the project.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next, Mr. Albert.
All right, next on the agenda, as we previously talked about, we had a discussion Per the
Yeah,
administrative
that's
code,
insane, isn't it? You
all
don't know
policies are
who owns the
presented
building, but you're
at a
gonna
meeting
commit
and
the
not
money?
voted on until a future meeting. This is the speed bump policy that we discussed at a meeting before. I don't know if anybody wants to have a discussion on this.
Nobody wants to be a part of this.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. So, as Mr. Albert says, we have already received this policy. This was in our packet a couple of meetings ago. It was meant to be in our meeting last week to approve, but I apologize. I dropped the ball and it did not make it there, but it made it onto this one. So the speed hump policy should be in everybody's packet.
not a hump.
We should have already been able to review it. So unless there are any questions or concern, we can move on to approving this policy.
All right. In that case, I move that the board approve the speed hump policy.
Second.
Second. Thank you.
All right, so the motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Ms. Boyden,
Yes.
Mr. Conley,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Albert,
Yes, sir.
and the chair as well. The speed hump policy passes unanimously, 5-0.
I'm
So,
sorry, y'all.
Mr. McCarthy, I
I'm
do see
laughing.
your hand up.
It is
and I
funny.
know that you,
I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. That is
part of this
frickin'
discussion.
funny.
So give us a second and we'll unmute you. We did just
you don't
approve
hump it,
so
you bump it.
I'm not sure what
Oh.
you're going to add to this, but you're unmuted, sir. So go ahead.
Oh my God.
Well, I appreciate that. One second, sorry.
You having us wait?
I'm not trying to be
I
rude,
apologize
but
for that.
just some of the people's words are just.
First of all, I'm disappointed that you didn't read the policy and you didn't ask for any public comment on the policy. I know that it was on a prior agenda, but the last agenda you didn't do anything on it. So I expected that you were going to be discussing the policy versus voting on it. So I guess for me, I'm curious as to what the policy is.
Sure. So I will tell you that the minimum criteria, speed humps will be considered only after less intrusive traffic calming measures of education and enforcement have been rejected as infeasible or ineffective. So warning signs, regulatory signs, policing, etc. Speed humps will only be used on residential streets carrying 500 to 2,500 vehicles per day.
I struggle.
Speed humps will be
The struggle
available
is
on
so
streets
real.
regulated at 30 miles per hour or less, and where the observed speeds, the 85th percentile, exceeded the posted limit by 8 miles per hour or more. Speed humps will not be installed on any street in the judgment of the town engineer, which there is inadequate vertical and horizontal alignment and sight distance to allow for safe installation. And speed humps will not be installed on any street that is a primary access route for emergency vehicles and would cause, in the judgment of police and fire, unacceptable delay in response time to emergencies. So there is a little bit more about resident participation. Only installed if 100% of the occupants immediately adjacent to the proposed speed hump location and 67% of the occupants of the residents in the neighborhood signing a petition request for the speed humps.
Dude, that's not what they're called. All right, here's a question for my peeps.
Right.
Humps or
go ahead,
bumps?
Mr. McCarthy.
Which is it? That'd be a good poll. Humps or bumps? Oh,
They had muted
you
me,
bump
so there'd be
over
no-
it. You don't.
which is good. Thank you for sharing that with me. It's disappointing to hear some of that criteria. Based on what you've shared, it feels like it's a big speed hump to get over, which will mean that plenty of the streets that probably need it,
I'm sorry.
that are
The
used
struggle is
for
real.
aggressive cut-throughs
Sorry,
will likely
not?
not get it. So I'm disappointed on that. And I would add, just as a point, I think 100% of the abutters, or you didn't use that word, also feels a bit rigid to me. So it's disappointing to me to hear that criteria.
you and I have had a couple of conversations about this at the traffic committee, et cetera. I'm pretty confident that the vast majority of the people
Speed
on my
hump.
street recognize that it's
Yeah, there's buffers or breakers.
an
Sometimes they
unsafe,
call them bumps.
street
but
at times during the day
humps?
as a result of the
God.
layout of the road, the curve in the road,
I could
and what we have
so
on
say
either
something
side of us.
nice.
Meaning two roads that people want to figure
So
out how to
could
get
go
down
there.
fast.
I'm
So
trying
just
to keep it
disappointed.
clean,
I'm
y'all.
disappointed that the select board would take a higher stance on something like that.
I could
Thank
so
you for
go there.
listening, and I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. So I do want to clarify, that this is very consistent with what other town speed hump policies. Sharon is one that was reviewed as well. There was actually a little bit more strict.
I didn't know my car knew how to go
thank
over
you
a
for your
speed hump.
comments.
Wink,
All right.
wink, wink.
Next, Mr. Albert.
All right, next on the agenda, I move that the board approve the cemetery commitments in the amount of $1,900.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No,
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Ms.
nay,
Boyden?
nay,
Mr. Boyden,
nay. I so wanted to do that. I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's not
Thank you,
funny,
Mr.
but
Conley.
I liked it.
You're also muted.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Mr. Albert?
Yes.
And the chair as well, 5-0.
All right, next on the agenda is the vendor warrant total for the week of 7/12/2024, $3,410,190.42. Next is the payroll warrant total for the week of 7/12/2024, $328,707.83. That's for the town. The next is the payroll warrant for the week of 7/12/2024.
And you get
$1,019,000
200 and something thousand a year.
$496.83. That's for the schools. Okay, and then next, I move that the board approve the minutes
Jill Ray,
from the
that's
select board
perfect.
meeting of June 25th, 2024.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Ms. Boyden?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
And the chair as well, 5-0.
All right, next is the town administrator update. Charlie, Mr. Duty, you have anything for us?
Muted.
I do. Just a couple of items, Mr. Chair, Clerk. First up is the Norfolk County Register of Deeds, and Mr. William O'Donnell will hold office hours in Canton. They're going to be here at Town Hall in the Sala Meeting Room this Thursday, July 18th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So the registry office hours allow the Registry of Deeds to go directly, bring information directly to the residents without them needing to travel to the office. According to Mr. O'Donnell, they will take completed homestead forms back to the registry for recording. They can help locate land documents because staff will be on hand to help residents do that if they need to. And then they can obtain certified copies of land documents such as deeds and mortgage discharges. So he'll be here for a couple hours if folks want to speak to the Registry of Deeds. The only other item I have is, did you want to take the cybersecurity grant?
Yeah, so.
Did he say a couple more
why don't
hours?
we do that? So the town, this is a topic not anticipated by the chair 48 hours in
humps were
advance.
approved.
Get this approved so that we can accept this. But the town has received a $61,600 grant from the Municipal Local Cybersecurity Grant Program from the state of Massachusetts through the Office of Grants and Research in the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. The funding was available as part of the Federal Cybersecurity Grant Program, and this grant will allow the school and the town to create and update our incident response plans and business continuity material. So, Mr. Albert, I would entertain a motion to accept the cybersecurity grant for $61,600.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Ms. Boyden,
Yes.
Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
and the chair as well, 5-0. So thank you very much.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Mr. Duty. Anything else?
Yeah, just one comment. I just want to recognize and congratulate Lou Jutras, who was the author of that grant. I think his forethought
The
and
hat's
preparing
not bad,
town
actually.
for
What are you
business
talking about?
continuity should we have a cyber attack is it's good forward thinking. So I appreciate his efforts. I also want to congratulate Jennifer Chameleon on her position as assistant town administrator. Well deserved. She's worked very hard to obtain the credentials to do that. So she's been there for 18 years, and I anticipate she will do a great job. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think 20 years, sorry.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah. All right. Next, Mr. Albert.
Okay, so next is the select board will hold its next meeting on Tuesday, August 6th, 2024, 7 p.m. remotely via Zoom.
Perfect. Any other announcements?
You
from anybody
chicken
on the board?
shits.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:50 p.m.
Second.
They are chicken. I need to get a chicken sound. They are so chicken. I tell you what, if I lived in that town, I'm gonna whoop somebody's butt. Y'all remember that little pink chicken that used to hop across the screen going, I'm gonna whoop somebody's ass? They are being chicken. This is not how you run. This is not COVID. We're not in COVID. We are not in a medical disaster or a weather disaster. You open your town hall for them to come in. If you don't like the fact that they're getting pissed and there is disruption, maybe you ought to listen to them a little bit. Listen. Why don't you set up a town hall meeting specifically to deal with the Chris Albert and the Karen Reed situation? So you don't have to take up the time here to do it. This is supposed to be an open to their citizens, and it's not. They think it is. Oh, man. Well, the thing about chiming in is if we chime in, then the citizen doesn't get to chime in. They're only allotted 15 minutes. That's it. 15 minutes. And there are people that are there every time they are there and they speak. I think that if you spoke last time, you can't speak this time. They're having a lot of people that are upset with the manipulation of certain speakers that are citizens, and them taking over the mic when other people have stood in line meeting after meeting after meeting, and they get pushed to the back and they don't get heard. Yeah, they did. All right, guys. I'm gonna head out. I just wanted to air this for you guys real quick, for those who wanted to see it. And I will be on Thursday. We're going to be speaking about the Ashley Benefield. We're going to catch up with something that's posted on the Karen Reed. We're going to do a couple of things. So come join me on Thursday. No, there was a guy from across the state who didn't even live in the county. Yep. All right, beloveds, don't forget, we are so close to 2,000. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And we will see you Thursday. Thanks for joining.